Hello everyone, it's Sheila back again. Welcome to my channel. I've had an email from a young man who follows my channel, and he's asked me how I work out my own patterns from swatches, and he'd like me to help him. I will probably email this video to him just in case he doesn't see it, but I'm going to tell Matthias, I call him. This is for him. Now, this is a swatch I did a little while ago, and I had to work out the size of the cardigan. That this one was actually a 50. Oh yes, this one was for a 50-inch cardigan. I think I did for this one, but I'm doing one at the moment, and this is it's going to be a V-neck sweater, this, and the lady wants this one to measure the actual finished measurement to be 44 inches. So I'll tell you how I worked this out. I haven't got a swatch for this. I'm going to do one later because I'm going to stitch the swatches together, but I just needed to use the stitches, the same kind of wool, you know, that that I was already using. So anyway, I worked out that I would need to do the back. The back would have to measure 22 inches plus a little bit more, but I'll tell you what that little bit more is when I tell you how I worked out the size. Well, the size is 22. Back would be 22, and the swatch gives me 5.5 stitches to the inch. So a 22, well, 10 inches, that's 55, 20 inches is 110, and then 2 inches, well, 2 inches is 11 stitches, so that's 121 stitches. But I've got 125 stitches on because I'm adding an extra four stitches, 2 stitches for each side for the sewing up. Because when you sew up, you lose a couple of stitches on either side, so you do need those extra stitches for the sewing up. It's not actually for the measurement; it's for the sewing up. So that this sweater. And I've measured it, and it does measure just a little bit more than the 22. Now, when I come to the length, I think it's 7.5 stitches to the inch, but I just measure it as the inch as I go along. So I've done 16 inches, and then this is a set-in sleeve, and I always try to start when I do a pattern, the start of the pattern, because it's easier to find where to measure it from across the bottom of this pattern. But when you're measuring this one here, I wanted 9 inches from the armhole up to the back of the neck. Now this one, when you measure it, you don't measure it from up the side like that because you get a larger measurement. If I measured this from here up to there, instead of 9 inches, it would be nearer 10 inches because it's stretched the side. So you measure it from the bottom of the pattern, and you can see at the top here where I started the shoulder shaping at the end of the pattern. So the centre neck, the end of the pattern is here. So you measure from the pattern here up to where the pattern finished, and not those extra stitches up there, because those are the extra rows that you get where you're decreasing so many stitches up to here and then knitting across, taking away, well, casting off stitches is casting off to here and coming across, so you get a few extra rows up to the where you actually finish the neck off. So this actually measures 9 inches from here to there. And that's how you do the how you work out the shaping for the for that size. But for the work out the measurements when you come to do the sleeve. This is what I do for my own. When I first started doing this, working out my own patterns, I've only worked them out for my own. I used when my kids were little, and I just used patterns for theirs, but a lot of the adult patterns never seemed to come out right for me. That was how I worked out my own. So when I come to do a wrist measurement, it's hard to do it. You really need somebody else to do this for you, because it's hard to. But I'll try and measure the tape around so you can see the right way. Now, a loose measurement for me, like that, is about 7.5 inches. But you need to make it looser than that because it's a rib. And if you had 7.5 inches like that, you wouldn't get it over your wrist. I think I've got it written down how many I actually did. Yeah, 7.5, and I added 2 inches, so I made it to 9.5. Because when you do the rib, that's pulled in tight around your wrist. So that's how I worked out the wrist measurement. You need a good bit of slack because of how you're doing the rib. And then, well, for that one there, for mine, I worked out that was 7.5 inches plus 2 inches for a bit extra. So I would have needed 53 stitches for the start of my sleeve at the wrist. And then you increase as you go up, but you need to measure further up your arm for the widest part of your arm. And the slack measurement for mine is about 13.5 inches, and they'll add 2 inches to that. So that would make it about 15.5 inches, because you don't have them, you know, tight around your arm, because not all sweaters and cardigans you make are not skin tight. So you need a little bit extra. So mine would have been up to 15.5. And that would give me, to work out those number of inches and the stitches that I would need, I would have needed 85 stitches. So I would go from 53 stitches up to 85 stitches from the wrist up to the widest part. And then you need to measure your, now I can't measure this, you know, myself, so I'm holding the tape measure at 3. I'm going to knock 3 inches off the length. I've got 3 inches on there, but you need to measure your sleeve up to your armhole. So I've got about 20 inches. And I'll take off those 3 inches that I held in my hand. So that makes my sleeve length 17 inches, which is what I do for myself. And that's how I work out how to do the patterns, Matthias. It's very simple. All you need to do is even a child, just measure a child, but leave a little bit extra because you don't need them like skin tight around the body, like cardigans and sweaters aren't like that. And that's just a little bit. I can't really tell you any more than that. A lot of it's in my head. I just do things in my head, and it's best to do whatever you're knitting. It's just, if any kind of pattern, whatever pattern you do a swatch first. I always do a swatch. I've got 1 or 2 swatches. I used to pull the swatches out afterwards, but I'm starting to save them now because I'm going to put them all together, and that'll give me a little well, a little sample of every pattern that I can do. So that's as much as I can tell you. You have to work things out for yourself, really. But anyway, that's my little bit for today, because it's 10 o'clock now and I want to get out in my garden and get some things done. The sun's not shining yet, but it might do later on, like. So I don't know if that'll help you, Matthias, but that's the way I do things, and I'm sorry you can't look inside my head, or you'd be able to work it out very easy for yourself. things like that just come natural to me. But I remember as a child, that's the way my mother used to measure us, me and my two sisters. She always used to measure all of us before she knitted anything, and that's probably where it's come from, as my mother was a dressmaker. So it wasn't just knitting when she made clothes, dresses and things like that. She was always measuring us. So I think that's been planted in my brain all these years. Like, so if you like my video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll let you see anything else I get round to. So bye for now.